Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We have Candice here again. So this is a new episode. Let's talk about like Feng Shui and how it integrates with Moldavite, right? So this is gonna be a very interesting and exciting series. So last week we talked about our Kua number, how our energy moves within our body, right? How our body, there's certain direction that is in flow with the energy of the earth and the cosmos. So rather than going against the flow, we can position our body to be in the flow versus going against the current. And so this episode, we're going to talk about how the energy is harnessed within our home. And different areas of the home carries a certain type of energy. So Candice, you want to make an introduction to what we're talking about today?
Yes, so you wanted to touch a little bit on eight mansions feng shui. So, eight mansions feng shui, it's probably one of the most familiar types of feng shui, the most popular, I think, because it's kind of one of the easiest to get started with.
When I first learned about this, I didn't know that my room in this year was not a good area. And so when I became aware of it, it kind of makes sense of what has been happening throughout the year and finding different remedies to help balance out the energy does make a difference from what I noticed personally. So Candice, let's touch base more on the different areas of the house. And I think we're going to go with some different examples as well. This is really interesting stuff when you can learn to integrate Moldavite's energy with Feng Shui. It's really powerful. I'm super excited for this series as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how we are able to incorporate it too. I'm excited to collab on this. Okay. Yes, so when we're looking at eight mansions, a lot of people don't realize that you have a personal Gua number, and that is based on the year you're born and your gender. And so we all have our personal best and worst directions. We have four directions that are supposed to be auspicious for us and four that are supposed to be inauspicious for us. And just like we have our own personal energy, each house has its own personal energy. And one of the systems we can look at is eight mansions. So eight mansions is probably one of the most popular ones, and it's probably the most familiar ones that people kind of come across when they start doing feng shui. So your house Gua is actually based on the way your house is oriented on a piece of land. So if a house is facing north, so if you go outside and you take your compass and you find the actual front of your home and it is facing north, sitting south, this system is actually based on the way your house sits. So I'll show you guys an example of a south sitting house in just a minute. But before I do that, I kind of wanted to show this a little bit of this Western style of feng shui. A lot of people are kind of familiar with this, in which this has like a fixed way that it's set over your home, much like the Western style of Bagua, Western style of feng shui. Eight mansions is also fixed over your home, so this will always be the same no matter what. And this is again depending on how your house is oriented on a piece of land. So we have eight different houses, and based on the eight directions. So we have north, south, east, and west. And then we have the inner cardinal directions because sometimes a house may face northwest or southwest or northeast or southeast. And so you have eight different types of houses, hence the name eight mansions. So just to show you guys kind of a quick example. So this house right here, or this example I'm going to show you, is an example of a south sitting, north facing home. So again, some formulas in feng shui are based on the way your house sits, and some are based on the way it faces. And so this is a sitting direction of a space. So you don't have to take the exact measurement, but you just have to know, which way does your house face, and then from that you can get the sitting direction. We know the opposite of north is south, so we know the sitting of the space is south. And again, so you look here, your house faces this way, or your office. In this case, it's an office. And with that, we can overlay, I'll go back to this example real quick right here. We can overlay, find the north home, north, here we go. So this is what it would look like. And so we just overlay that over our space, just like that, just in that grid, the same grid. We're able to overlay over space. You can just kind of divide that out. And once you do that, you can kind of know what you're working with within the space. So again, just kind of being familiar with the terms, you have your what's called your life-threatening direction, your 5 ghosts, your 6 killings, and your mishaps. Those are all the inauspicious areas of your home. So just like when you face a certain direction, the energy, you might be fighting against it. Maybe you're facing your life-threatening direction all the time, or you're facing your 6 killings direction all the time. These areas can also be found in your house or your office space, in a building. And so when we look at we can identify the 4 areas that can be inauspicious in a space, and then we can identify the 4 areas that can be auspicious in a space.
Recap the viewers on
Yes.
how I interpret it when I first learned about it, because it's a little bit overwhelming when you first learn.
Yes.
And Candice, you've been doing this for a while, so it's easier for you to understand and grasp. But when I first started, I was like, what is happening? So
yes, exactly.
how would I simplify this for everyone here is our Gua number is our internal compass, right? So that's something separate from our house Gua number, because our house also has different sections. So here you go. When we run our Gua number, Candice on her website has a link for you to run your Gua number. It tells you which is your inauspicious. Inauspicious means bad direction. Auspicious means good direction, right? Basically, it means if you're facing a certain direction, regardless of where you are, this direction's good, this direction's bad. So try to avoid the bad ones and go with the flow of the energy is what the Gua number is, okay? So the second part is the 8 mansions, which is the house Gua. So with the house, it's basically how our house is positioned, how the energy enters through the house, through the front door, and how the energy is lodged in within the home. Our house Gua number, we also have, depending on where our front door is and where our back door or back of the home is, it will give us a Gua number, which would give us what to map out within the home, right? The map will already tell us where the direction, where the energy is going. So for example, if your house is facing the front door, the road up there is north, the energy coming through is going to lodge into certain areas of your home. And that's where a lot of energy is harnessed. Depending on where your front door faces tells you where the energy is lodged within your home. And it's more of a fixed energy because the energy is consistently going through every time you using your front door or the energy is coming through. Okay, so that is the 8 mansions. Here's one thing that I really got confused when I first started Feng Shui, is when you start Googling Feng Shui, you're gonna start coming across the Western map, which is this. So this is just a fixed map based on, so this is another branch of Feng Shui. It's separate from 8 mansions. So this tells you basically each room or with each home, when you first enter the front door, this is how it's gonna look, regardless of how your house faces. Right, so it's more fixed. It's like, don't worry about directions, don't worry about the compass, just look at this. Yes. So this is a more Western style. This is what confused me because I was like, okay, why is this in conflict with the other map? I think this is what's easier. Like if you look into Feng Shui, a lot of people talk more about this. I think this, it's not good or bad, it's a different way of calculation. For me, what I gravitated to the more I tap into this is the traditional route, which is the 8 mansions, right? So this is the Western style. It just tells you your front door, here's your map. You don't look at direction, you don't look at the compass. So there's only one layout. With the traditional one, depending on where your front door is facing, it's going to give you more options. It's more specific on where the energy moves.
Yes. And so I will clarify that you want to take the facing of the home or the office. So I can kind of show you a quick example. So Sometimes your front door does not it's not the facing of your home. So sometimes your front door, maybe your front door could be this way and it's facing that way. So this is the architectural front of your space, if that makes sense. What direction would you take a picture of if you were listing it to sell, if that makes sense? And so sometimes the front door can actually be like on the side or facing a different way. So you want to take a measurement, or you want to get familiar with the way the building is facing and not necessarily just the front door, because sometimes the front door can be facing a different direction.
That could be a confusing part too. So when in doubt, you can send Candice an email.
And as people do kind of get confused, and that's why I included it, because you'll start looking at feng shui, but what is this one? So
Mhm.
it's just a different style and different practice, different school of thought in feng shui.
I got really, really confused when I first started that. And I was trying to map everything out. But I was like, okay, there's so much conflict. I don't get it.
Yes.
Connecting with you and clarifying that, I was like, okay, that makes so much more sense. There's different practices, schools of feng shui.
Yes, because even this school of thought right here, the Eight Mansions school of thought, is different from like Flying Stars. It's a whole different school of thought. And sometimes when you start layering so many schools of thought, it can either conflict or be confusing. And so I always say just stick with the one that's easiest. And for a lot of people, when they start out here because it's easy to kind of understand. And then just like what you did, how you started and you thought there's some more to it, you kind of layered this on and maybe, prefer one over the other.
Mm-hmm. The way I would explain it is more like it's a different dimension or a different layer, a deeper layer to tap into, more specific.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
Okay, so now hopefully we got that clarified for the viewers. Let's continue.
Do you want me to stop sharing, or do you want me
No,
to
you
do
can
you want to look
continue
at something
sharing.
else? Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
so,
Okay. Maybe I'll come back to this and try to think of I wish I could make it bigger. I don't know how to. I thought there was a way to just.
there's room or fit slide.
Well, I just. Because I thought when you presented it, did the full screen. Maybe.
Yeah, is there a present? There should be a present.
Yeah, I thought so.
Or under files or file in the beginning tabs. Let's see. That's weird.
Play. Oh,
There you go.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. The only thing is that I can't magnify it. That's just what it is. Let's see here. That's okay. Okay. So, let me think here. Train of thought on the dimensions. Okay. So now that you kind of have an understanding of how this is oriented over your space, you can look at your four worst directions or your four bad, inauspicious, unlucky directions, and you can see what is there now. So, for example, like this mishaps area, we know the whole Hawaii or the mishap area or direction, it's supposed to kind of govern like misunderstandings, stuff like that. And so if you're sleeping in this area, maybe you notice you're having a lot of misunderstandings. But on the other hand, here, if you're sleeping in a bedroom and you notice that it's a heavenly doctor area, maybe that's the area you want to sleep in if you're having some health issues. So if that's an option for you. And then, so you have your stability, your fu hui. Here is actually in the kitchen area, which is actually pretty good. So that would, especially if you use and you cook a lot, the stability or fu hui area. This could be a space where you spend more time in. That way you can benefit from the energy that's there. And then you have your longevity area. And so this, again, it governs relationships. So maybe you can spend some time with your family in the area. So the ones you want to really watch out for, especially, is the life-threatening. The other ones are a little bit more manageable, but if it's a bedroom you're sleeping in, maybe you're like, well, I've had a lot of accidents or I've had some issues. Then you want to kind of maybe reconsider the areas you're spending the most time in. And really, the ones that affect you most are like the kitchen, your bedroom, and where your architectural front door is. Because just like you pointed out, that's the energy you're bringing into your space. So here, with the door being located in the longevity area, that's the energy that's coming into the space. And I will point out that now you can actually layer your personal Mingguo number, your personal Gua number. You can layer it in and you can say, well, I'm in this life threatening area. I can't change that. I can't change the bedrooms, but maybe you orient your bed in another space or a different direction that is your personal good direction.
So the 8 mansions is one method of feng shui. Basically, if you're gonna stay in this home, like your forever home, you plan on passing it down to generations, then this would be a good method to use. Now, if you plan on selling a home later on, or your home's gonna be more short term, then there's another method that we use called the flying star, which is the calculation of how the planets move and how it affects the energy, or how the energy moves within the home throughout the year, throughout the months, right? So that is another episode we're going to tap into, another method called the flying star. Is there anything else you want to add to that, Candice?
I just think that, to just kind of recap what you just said, there is different schools of thought in feng shui. There's different layers of analysis, and so this is just one layer of analysis, and it is a little bit standalone. So don't get too confused when you're looking at feng shui and you see a bunch of different layers on top of it. So just take this layer as it is by itself. Maybe you want to just start out with the Western style of bagua and kind of start looking at that and get familiar with how to put that over your home. And if you do need help with your floor plan, you can send me a copy of it and I'll layer some information for you.
To wrap it up, the next episode, we're going to talk about flying stars, how the energy moves within the home throughout the year. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Candice, for being here. And we'll see everyone in the next episode.